police. What is the location you're calling about?
We're on the tollway on 35 going into Fort Worth. There's a big car pileup.
Okay, are you injured?
Yes.
Cars flying, the crunch sickening. The chain reaction smashing more than 130 vehicles.
The expressway that's covered in ice. When you see headlights do a full 180 in the middle of the interstate, it catches your attention.
My brakes aren't working. I was going down the hill without any control over my vehicle. I was scared to death.
When the nurse said your daughter was involved in a serious accident, all I could think about was the worst.
It was absolute carnage. Really didn't have much time to think before I looked up and I saw a semi-truck.
I'm still getting hit from behind, and I can't escape what's happening to me.
I start digging through cars, trying to find people.
It just looked like mass confusion, destruction, chaos.
It's something that sticks with you forever.
All right, let's get our first check of the weather. Parade of winter storms is what Al's watching. Hi.
Well, let's show you what's going on. We've got 47 million people from Texas all the way to New Jersey under winter weather alerts. We're starting to see some icing develop, and that's what we're really concerned about.
We're going to have record cold conditions. This is going to be a major winter storm, and it's bearing down on us now from the south.
Winter weather advisory in effect for just about all of North Texas, as we do expect some ice to persist on road surfaces.
3, 2, 1. Happy New Year!
Destiny and I met back in middle school and became very good friends then. And by freshman year, you know, we started dating. Destiny and I were always together, always doing just about everything together. I felt like I had found the one person in my life, so.
Don't be surprised if you see the brine trucks out on the road today. Some seriously cold and dangerous weather moving into North Texas.
That morning, Destiny and I both woke up together. It was around probably 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. Destiny worked at Old Navy at the time, and she would commute early in the morning. Typically, I would walk Destiny out to her car just because of everything going on in this world. I just wanted to make sure that from leaving our door to her vehicle that she was safe and made it there with all of her belongings and was ready to hit the road. Obviously, it was super early in the morning. I made sure she was on her way out, and I go back to sleep.
February 11th, I woke up at the normal time, 5 o'clock in the morning, get myself ready for work. I'm a registered nurse at Baylor Hospital, so I throw on my scrubs, make a cup of coffee, jump in my car.
Danielle's kind of loud when she gets ready in the morning, so every once in a while she'll wake me up, but that particular morning I didn't wake up when she was getting ready. We had been married about 2.5 years and working towards having, our first child.
When we first decided to have kids, we thought it would happen right away, and it didn't. And then we decided to pursue IVF to start our family. And we had a failed IVF cycle in December. As I'm driving myself to work that morning, it was obviously on my mind because the next day was our second appointment for a second round of IVF. Knowing that the next day could potentially be the future we had hoped for and prayed for such a long time, I was just trying to keep my mind and body as relaxed as possible leading up to that. At that time, my relaxing way to drive to work was listening to my true crime podcast. That was kind of my escape from what I was going through. It made me feel calm in a weird way.
I'm a paramedic here in Fort Worth, Texas at MedStar Mobile Healthcare. I lived on the north side of Fort Worth at the time and noticed that it was significantly colder out than previous mornings. Hopped in my Toyota FJ Cruiser. It was my dream vehicle. It was the type of vehicle you could go out on a snowy, icy day and help other vehicles that had gotten stuck. Started my morning commute. I had the vehicle silent and I was just trying to enjoy the ride into work. Got about 4 or 5 miles down 35. That's when, things kind of changed for me. My route takes me southbound on 35 toll towards Fort Worth. This particular stretch of road dips down and then it dips back up. And then at the top, it'll turn to the left and go downhill. As I reached the top, maybe about half a mile down the road, I could see brake lights on the tollway.
I was at the top of the hill, and then as I'm coming down, it was just kind of like, oh, I'm kind of picking up speed. I need to slow down, but I couldn't. And I'm like, this is weird.
I started to ease on my brake. It didn't catch any traction.
My brakes aren't working and I'm continuing to go down really fast. And what was going through my head was, why am I going so fast? Why is my car not slowing down?
My main focus was not hitting that car in front of me. I decided I'll turn into that center median and I scraped along that concrete barrier, hoping that I could slow myself down because at this point, I'm still going, 50 miles an hour. I was scraping along that center barrier. I was just able to slow down maybe, 5 miles an hour, and I just barely tapped that vehicle in front of me. And I look up in my rear view and see a semi-truck heading towards me.
I was going down the hill for what felt like a long time without any control over my vehicle. And then as I'm coming down the hill, I see a semi across, and I just go until I hit it.
Operator 124, what you had just called about? There's been a big crash on 35. There's a bunch of ice on the freeways.
And the car just hit us in the back. Can you guys please hurry?
Can you get out the way?
We can't get off.
You can't get out the way at all?
No.
Destiny was just very driven and focused. She had goals, and she stuck to them. Destiny was very excited to buy her own car. And when she went to the dealership, it was very much on her terms and conditions and what she was comfortable with paying. And if they didn't budge, she was ready to walk off because she was like, I'm not paying more. No more than this. I'm like, oh, okay. Take you with me next time I want to get a car.
We will always hear from Destiny every morning, either by the time if she was leaving for work or when she got to work. But that morning, we hadn't heard from Destiny. I knew the roads were kind of slippery, but I felt at that point in time that Destiny's a very, very careful driver. She doesn't speed. She just pretty much goes the speed limit, never had a ticket a day in her life. So I didn't even think twice. So I assumed that she had already made it to work.
We were approximately an hour and a half into shift. We were on the main lanes of 35, responding to a different call. That's when I saw that first car spin out in the southbound express lanes. When you see headlights do a full 180 in the middle of the interstate, it catches your attention. My first thought was like, this is gonna be bad. And then it just started in on a chain reaction. I'm fearing, how big is this gonna be? Like, how extensive? When's this gonna stop?
There goes another one. Oh my goodness.
I'm trying to contact dispatch, get the expressway shut down. I started actually counting cars over the radio, trying to give them a size. I think I got to like 25 or 28, and I lost count. It just kept going on, and you're sitting there and you're like, what can I do here?
It was absolute carnage, and really didn't have much time to think before I looked in my rearview mirror and I saw a semi-truck heading towards me at a high rate of speed. I needed to get out of my vehicle, but I wasn't able to open my door. As it got closer, I just dropped my hands in my lap and put my head down. I figured this was it.
When I hit the truck, I didn't register the physical impacts because the mental confusion was overwhelming, and the fight or flight, if you will, took over at that point. Everyone was coming down at a very high speed, and it wasn't just me. Cars are still coming, and it's not ending anytime soon. I open my car door, I kind of look, and at seconds later, a car comes flying by, a truck, and my door slams on my arm. My arm and my foot were caught in the driver's side door. I was stuck, and I was trying to reach with my right hand to find my phone to call for help, but I couldn't find it. I just wanted to call my husband and tell him what happened and tell him how scared I am and that I might not make it out of here. I can feel the car shake a little bit. I'm still getting hit from behind. I can hear a lot of screaming noises, and I can't escape what's happening to me. My forearm was trapped in the door. My fingers are out in the cold and starting to get numb. I remember thinking, I'm gonna get frostbite and lose my fingers. My mind was kind of going in all of those possible situations that could happen. Something was gonna blow up. I was gonna get hit further under this semi-truck. I'm gonna die here. And then I said, no, we're gonna make it out. I knew I had my appointment with the IVF clinic the next day. I knew what me and my husband had gone through and the struggles that we had. And then, you know, my skills as a nurse. There's been so many situations that I've been in my career where it's scary and it's heartbreaking, and you sometimes don't know what to do, but you think critically and you do what you can. And that's what I had to do. I just need someone to get to me and get me out of here before something worse happens. So I just started screaming for help, and I said, someone's gonna find me. If it takes 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, I'm gonna keep trying.
We have a multi-car mass casualty pile up. We've got major injuries.
We have multiple victims trapped.
Once we arrived on scene, there was an overwhelming smell of diesel fuel, gasoline. You could still hear screams.
At this point, I start digging through cars, trying to find people, and found one of my first patients. I'm walking up to this car, looking at the damage. I have damage on the roof. I have damage on all 4 sides. The front end of the car is moved in 12 to 14 inches. The rear of the car is smashed in about 18. All the glass has gone out of her car. And then I saw her. She slumped over from the driver's seat over into the passenger seat. I call out to her, no response. She doesn't look outward to be that injured. She's got a couple bruises and bumps, but no outward signs of why she should be like she is. So that's pointing to me that she has internal injuries.
As we move southbound on foot, searching and marking cars, we're flagged down by a MedStar paramedic. He lets us know he has a patient that needs immediate attention an immediate extrication or likely will not survive the event, with a window that was quickly closing to keep her alive.
That semi-truck barreled straight into the rear end of my vehicle and caused the most intense impact I think I'll ever feel in my entire life. I had my eyes closed at the time, and once everything stopped moving, when I opened my eyes, I was surrounded by airbags. And then I realized that my vehicle had been launched from the southbound lanes over into the northbound lanes, and I landed wheels down. I needed to get out of this vehicle. I don't know if it's, on fire or what. I crawled out of the broken window on the driver's side, and I was left just standing there, taking in everything that just occurred. It was silent. But then every 10, 15 seconds, I'd hear a crash. It felt like forever that would continue on. It was extremely cold outside, and I start to feel my arms and my legs get extremely cold. My body was starting to shiver. I started to feel like I was about to pass out. And then something snapped, and I woke up, and I immediately got all this energy. I had so much adrenaline still pumping that I didn't feel any pain. Being a paramedic, I reverted to my best-known training.
Where's this guy at? He's in there helping.
Started to jump into the mindset of this is a bad scene, and I'm not gonna be able to stop it myself, but I can do everything I can to help. I wanted to go back in there, and a firefighter asked for assistance. They had pulled this lady out of the wreckage, and she was screaming in pain. We helped lift her over that concrete barrier and got her loaded up. I hear more people screaming. I knew people were hurt. I knew people were trapped. I knew people were dying. It kind of dawned on me how massive this scene was.
As we approached this badly wrecked vehicle, there was a young lady. She was unconscious. She was breathing on her own, but barely. James, the MedStar paramedic, and I had a quick discussion of if removing her was even possible, if we had the personnel, the appropriate tools, or amount of time.
She's a critical patient. I'm like, if we get her out, we can start treating her. We initially checked her vital signs real quick, got a snapshot of that, and they were stable enough to move her out of the car.
We knew we had one shot and a very short window of time to remove this young lady. The first step before you move anyone that has gone through a high-impact wreck like that is immobilizing their neck.
So we started trying to get her out with the limited tools that we had and onto a backboard. She was still unconscious, and she started to seize, which points more towards a head injury. So at this point, I'm like, okay, she needs a trauma surgeon. The longer we stayed outside with her, the colder she was gonna get. You're looking at hypothermia within possibly 5 to 10 minutes. So we put a couple blankets on her and tried to keep her warm as we were moving her to our ambulance. And then we transported as quickly and safely as possible to the hospital. In the back of my head, I'm thinking, this is somebody's daughter. Are we transporting an organ donor?
That morning, we hadn't heard from Destiny. I assumed that she had already made it to work. Finally, I received a phone call from her phone, and I said, "Hey, baby," and on the other line, there was a nurse, and the nurse said, "Mr. Mays," and my heart just dropped.
I remember being in the bathroom, getting myself together. I heard the phone ring, and then Derek got really quiet and wasn't saying anything else, didn't answer anything else. He was just, nodding in agreement. I just see a single tear come down his face. He wasn't really able to speak.
I was hysterical. That's probably about the best way I could say, because the only thing I could think about was getting downtown to her.
I'm trapped. My hand is on the outside of the door in the cold air, and my arm is caught inside the door. Because I am a nurse, I was testing my hand and thinking, okay, I'll lose my arm, but I'm not gonna sit here and be silent and cry about this, or think, oh no, this is it, I'm gonna make it out of here. All I have is my voice, so I just start screaming for help as loud as I can. I was so helpless and not being able to call anybody, not being able to talk to anybody. I started thinking about how much I wanted to be a mom, and all of those worries and doubts about it not being able to be true, that was even more scary for me.
Hey, we're going over the top this way.
I remember seeing a crowd of firefighters. I looked at one firefighter and said, "Do not leave me. You're gonna get me out of here." I was worried they weren't gonna be able to because the truck was literally on top of my car. I believe it was the jaws of life that they needed to be able to get me out. Finally, they were able to get the car door open, and they were like, "Okay, let's go, let's go." I went out the back of my car, and when I got out the back, I saw all of the cars behind me. And that's when they said, "You're gonna have to go under this 18-wheeler. That's the only way you can get out." I just got as low as I could and just started going out. After I got out, they asked me if I needed medical attention, and that's when I told them, "No, I'm okay. Go find someone else because I'm okay." I was so desperate to call Clint. I called him probably 35 times, and he did not answer. And then I realized how much pain I was in and that I couldn't move my arm. I knew it was probably important that I get treatment, but all I wanted was to be with my family.
When I woke up that morning, I had a lot of missed calls from Danielle, so I instantly kind of went into panic mode and called her back.
I was calm at first, and then when I heard his voice, I started crying.
I had never heard her in that state before. She was trying to make out to me what happened and tell me that she had been in a wreck, but that was about all that she could really tell me, is that her arm was hurt. My alarm bells went off just because, as a child, my mom was in a car accident. They called us from the scene. They believed that she had a leg injury, but other than that, she was totally fine. They were gonna life flight her from the scene of the wreck. But by the time they made it to the hospital, my mom was pronounced dead upon arrival. Having that happen at such a young age, I'm always kind of thinking the worst in situations like that. And so when I got that phone call, even though Danielle was telling me that she was okay and she just had an arm injury, internally I was just freaking out. And I don't want to put more fears into her head, but I wanted her to get checked out and make sure from somebody else that she was actually okay, rather than just, her going off of adrenaline. And I was thinking that obviously there's no chance we would be able to continue with the IVF the following day. It was just crazy to me that we had built up you know, for this for so long, and it's quite a process that goes into IVF, and she had already been through so much with all the shots, and you know, it's really a lot for for a woman to go through that. I start questioning, like, why did this have to happen right before, you know, we're hopefully gonna, you know, have a family.
There were so many people that needed help, and the ambulances were having a hard time getting to us. They were sliding on the ice. Clint wanted to come. I said, no, don't come. I don't want you out on the roads, clearly, of what I'd just been through. It's obviously dangerous out there. But he didn't listen.
I ran out so fast that I didn't even have shoes on. It sounded like it was a very chaotic scene, but I had no idea the magnitude of the situation. I just knew that I was going to try to get to her as quickly as I possibly could.
When the nurse called and said your daughter was involved in a serious accident, and right now she's not responsive. I'm panicking, I'm hysterical, I'm trying to stay focused. Only thing I could think of was just getting downtown to the hospital.
I remember being in the front seat and just saying, we don't know anything. We just know that she's been in an accident. While Derek's driving, I'm calling Tyler. Couldn't get no answer. Everybody just kept calling Tyler, calling Tyler.
There was probably about a 30 or 40 minute lapse in time that no one can get in contact with Tyler.
I remember waking up to hundreds and hundreds of missed phone calls, and somebody told me what had happened. And I just, my heart completely sank. I bolted out the door, just trying to get to the hospital as fast as I could. Your mind always goes to the worst place, and I had no idea how bad this was. That morning after I got the phone call about Destiny's accident, I was going as fast as my car would let me go to the hospital she was at. I've never driven that fast before, and it was probably not the smartest thing to do, but that didn't matter to me. It was a matter of getting there as quickly as possible. So there was nothing that was going to stop me that morning.
It took me well over an hour to get to the hospital, and I still beat the ambulance that had Danielle in it. They were working around the ice and the scene. When I walked into the waiting room, every TV was the news, and it was, you know, helicopters flying over the wreck, and I could actually see her car in the footage of the wreck. That's actually the moment that I sat down and realized the magnitude of what she had just, you know, been involved in. And as you sit down and see the TV, the helicopter zoomed in on her car, and it's just wrapped with the 18-wheeler, and another truck had taken her door off. You see that scene, and it's just something I'll never forget. It's something that sticks with you forever.
I wanted to go back in there and help as much as I could, not kind of realizing the extent of my injuries. I look up and I see one of my supervisors show up on scene, and he looks over at me. He does a double take, sees me in my uniform, but then asks me, "Why is your nose bleeding?" I pointed to my vehicle, and he was in complete disbelief that I had survived. I felt exhausted, but at the same time, I had so much adrenaline still pumping that I didn't feel any pain. It didn't occur to me how extensive that hit was from behind. I got a ride from a support vehicle home, and my family asked me why I wasn't at the hospital. I told them, and they ultimately convinced me to go get checked out. My injuries included a bone contusion on the left foot, a pretty severe left ankle sprain, concussion. My cervical spine was kind of hyperextended. But the physical injuries for me were nothing in comparison to the mental and psychological trauma that had occurred. One of my friends reached out with a video that had surfaced a couple hours after the accident, and I went to the comments, and everybody says, that dude in the FJ Cruiser, he's dead. There's no way he survived. It was just very surreal reading those after the fact. It's hard to make sense of it all. You know, why didn't I die? When I looked at that wrecked vehicle, unrecognizable as just a pile of metal. The psychological effect of it is definitely a heavy weight to carry, but things are a lot better since the accident. I feel relieved that I'm here and it's all over. Back 100%, back at work. I help train new employees, safe driving techniques. I can share my experiences and what to watch out for. It's helped me cope with it. I'm very grateful for that.
Once we arrived at the hospital, they took my wife and myself upstairs to the ICU floor. We were met with the doctors and nurses. They were painting a very grim picture of Destiny's condition.
It was a lot to take in, but they said that they were doing all that they could and would keep giving us updates. I don't exactly know how long we sat in that room, but when we finally got the okay to go back, the nurse outside her room was just, you know, I just want to prepare you for what you're about to see. You know, this is your daughter, but just know that it's not going to be easy. But when you open that door and you go in the room and you see your kid laid up in the bed like that, nothing can prepare you for that. Nothing can prepare you for that. Destiny's face. It's very traumatic. You can see that she's been through a lot.
You would never want to see your child in a position of vulnerability to the points where you don't know if she's going to make it or not. There was a great chance that she's not going to make it.
We turn now to the wicked winter storm making its way across the country. Millions waking up to frigid temperatures and icy roads this morning. Conditions that caused a deadly mile-long pileup on a Texas interstate.
The chain reaction smashing more than 130 vehicles, sending 65 people to the hospital and leaving 6 others dead.
When I got to the hospital, I'm dirty from crawling under the semi. My mascara is running down my face from crying. I'm a mess.
10 minutes after she arrived, they let me go back and, you know, sit with her. I was very relieved when I laid eyes on her and got to give her a hug.
They wanted to confirm if I had a broken arm, and I was more concerned about anything that might interfere with my appointment with the IVF clinic the next day. But it turned out that it wasn't broken. It was just a nerve injury, which had its own challenges, but was better than a broken arm. I immediately left the hospital and called my fertility doctor and told him what I had been through. And he said, hey, we can still do it. And I said, well, I'll be there. But the next day was even worse as far as my injuries because I could barely get out of bed. I was so sore and I was terrified because I didn't want to be on the roads. But I knew I had to go to that appointment.
Destiny was in a comatose state. I just remember the next few days waiting to see if she could breathe on her own.
Seeing Destiny was really rough because she was obviously unconscious. So I was just sitting there by her side, but nobody knew how long she was going to be unconscious, if she was going to wake back up.
She was one of the most critical patients that I'd had that day, so my critical patients always stay with me. They don't leave you.
After being in the hospital for 2 weeks unconscious, she finally came to and opened her eyes.
I don't remember anything from the morning of the accident. I can't recall like the last moments I had with anybody before my accident, and I wonder what that was. Like, I wonder if I said I love you to my siblings, to my parents.
I was just like, oh God, thank you. You know, I was like, okay, she's gonna be okay, and she's gonna be all right. I just want to be able to hug her, and she hugged me back. You start seeing that beautiful little face, and just being without it, I couldn't imagine. The paramedics and first responders, I owe them a debt of gratitude.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Cody.
Cody.
I'm James.
James.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Tyler. Tyler, nice to meet you. James.
I only learned your name about a month ago, but you've always been on my mind. I've always wondered whatever happened to you.
I was in the hospital for a month.
For a month?
Yeah. My memory of being in the hospital is very spotty. I wasn't in pain. I couldn't feel anything. I sustained a traumatic brain injury. My eye also sustained some trauma. I had to learn how to walk. I had to do vision therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, and occupational therapy. Really just building my physical capacity back up. I don't know if I understood the severity of the accident until I got out of the hospital. Once I saw the pictures of my car, it was really shocking to know that I survived that. I just want to say thank you for being there the moment that you were there and for saving my life.
James mentioned that he's thought about those moments with you specifically quite a bit over the last 3.5 years. I'll tell you, I'm in the same boat. I spent a lot of days thinking back specifically to you and knowing that you're alive, that you're with us, that you're leading a normal life is amazing. And I'm very glad you're here. So.
The past few years have just been a rediscovery of myself, finding like my resilience again. The number one thing I just felt was defeated. Like I felt lost. And one day I just woke up and I was like, you know, you have to do this. You have to go back out there. And so I did.
If you were to meet her, you would never know that she was in that horrific accident. She looks the same, sounds the same. She's still Destiny.
She has so much perseverance and just self-motivation. There's nothing that's stopping Destiny but herself.
Getting back on the road was a little scary, but I feel really lucky to be in a position to be driving, and I'm really thankful for all the people in my life who helped me get to this point.
My focus every day after the accident was on my healing and getting past the emotional and the physical trauma of the accident. For the first time in a long time, trying to get pregnant wasn't my everyday focus. And I truly believe that that distraction is what made it turn out the way it did. Because 9 months later, we gave birth to our son, Hayes.
When I saw her hold him for the first time, it was just everything that I've ever dreamed of. And you could see, you know, the scar on her arm, and it's a reminder of that God had carried her through the wreck and carried us through this IVF process, carried us through this pregnancy, and, you know, blessed us and given us a family.
It's a lot, because that year was one of the hardest, but one of the best in so many ways. It was a challenging, but also the most incredible year I've ever had. We are blessed with twin boys shortly after our first, so now we have 3 boys.
Aren't those cute? Yeah.
Can you wave to them, Cruz? Say hi, chicken.
Hi.
I know there were people that did lose their lives in their accident and didn't have the future that I have right now. And that's so sad, and I don't take a day for granted. We're just so incredibly blessed.